Hi, I'm Kate Nunsuch, and today I'm going to demonstrate a Think Aloud in math. I'm just going to pretend that this is an audience of learners, and I'm going to talk the way I would talk to a group of learners, or to one at a time. I'm going to do a Think Aloud in math to let you inside my head as I solve a problem. Because when we do any kind of math problem, some of the things come from the paper, from the question, some of the things I bring from inside my head. So when I'm talking to you, I hope you'll pay attention to what kinds of questions I ask myself and what I already know that I bring to the problem, and which parts of it come from the paper. So my first step is to read the problem. Now I might read this problem 2 or 3 times, so I kind of get the hang of what it's saying. 24 is what percent of 72? So I see that this what percent means they're asking me to find what percent. So I know I'm going to be looking for a percent in this problem. And I have 2 numbers, 24 and 72. So 24 is part of 72, because what percent means we're talking about a part of a larger number. And so first I'm going to make myself an estimate of the answer, because when I get to the bottom and solve my proportion, I want to know if I'm in the right ballpark. And I'm going to think aloud for you this morning only to set up the proportion, because I know you all know how to solve the proportion once you get it set up. It's really setting it up that's the tricky part. So I look here. I've got 24 over 72. Now, I could reduce that fraction, but it's complicated and I don't want to bother, because I'm just looking for an estimate. So I say, well, that's about the same as 25 over 75. I've made the pieces a little bit smaller, but I've got one more of them, so I'm hoping that will be just about right. I know that this one is easy to reduce. That's equal to 1/3. And I know from my baseline fractions that we've been working on, my baseline percents, that 1/3 is about 33%. So I'm just going to tuck that number away up there. Here's my estimate, and I'll check against it when I get to the bottom. So now I set up my proportion. There are lots of ways to do it, but I know a proportion always works, so I'm going to try that. And when I think of a proportion, I like to help my thinking with a diagram. So I think we've got 72 things here. Now it could be a pile of loonies, could be a pile of books, could be a stack of pizza boxes for a big party. Doesn't matter what it is, but we've got 72 of them. So the whole number, the whole thing is the number 72. And I know that if you're talking about the percentage, the whole thing is always 100%. So I know that this big pile is also equivalent to 100%. And then in my diagram, I'm going to mark on my part. The part is 24. So I'll shade that in. I know that this is 24. Do I know what percent it is? No, that's what they're asking me. What percent? So I'm going to say X percent. And I can write a little percent here if I want to, just to remind myself that that's the problem, that that's the percentage. Now I go to my proportion. I've got 4 numbers here, so I'm going to write a proportion that uses all 4 of these parts. But you notice that I've got the whole thing out here, the whole number, the whole percent. And over here in my diagram, I've got the part number and the part percent. So really, I've made it easy for myself. All I need to do is copy those down. I'm going to start with the X. Well, I'm going to start on this side. So I'm going to say 24 over X equals 72 over 100. And I check. I say, is this right? I got the percent on the bottom. I got the percent on the bottom. Balance. I've got the number on top and a number on top. Balance. On my left-hand side, I've got the part. And on my right-hand side, I've got the whole. Okay, I think that proportion is right. And then I would just go ahead and solve it in the usual way. When I get my answer, I go back here and check if it's about 33%. And if it isn't somewhere around 33%, I'm going to do the whole thing over again and see if I can find my error. So that's how I'd work at setting up a proportion. Your turn now.